I hope that this session is quite interesting for you, that it can help you a lot. I'm planning to keep posting on LinkedIn quite often, but like I said, until now, it's been quite difficult to deal with everything. So as I don't want to be suffering any kind of burnout or something like that, I just need to choose strategically what I do or what I don't. And that is why I try to take some time to be here with you, but it was impossible to deal with everything else. Well, I hope that all of you are doing great, that so far all your application forms are working also fine, that if you have not submitted them, which probably you haven't because you are here today, at least that you have your first version, the first draft already finished. Through this session, we are going to cover some fundamentals of the written test, of the application form. So hopefully all the information that we are going to share with you today can be also useful for you. What we are going to do in this session, actually, we are going to start. I'm going to give some updates because probably some of you are already familiar with this. But important to say is that the EPSO just held a session a few minutes ago in LinkedIn, and they shared a lot of valuable information. So I'm going to update. I'm going to give you an update so that you already are with all the information that you may need for the 85 graduates competition. Have any of you have attended the session from the EPS? Yes, no. Do you have here some emojis? Okay, Maria attended. Anna also, Analinda. Okay. Alma also was there. Okay, that's great. Well, a lot of important information over them. If you don't mind, I'm going to cover just the fundamental ideas that I think that can be helpful for all of you and for all the people who will be watching afterwards this session. So let me come here to my presentation. Well, for all of you who doesn't know me yet, I'm Carlos Gil. I'm training director at Yepso. I'm Spanish, but I currently live in Portugal, even though I'm constantly traveling from one side to the other of Europe. And today I am at Coimbra, sunny Coimbra today, with very good weather. Hopefully we will keep it like that for quite some time. A very good temperature, around 20 degrees, so that's great. If you want to know something more about my profiles, you can find it on my LinkedIn profile over there, where I always try every week at least to publish 1-2 posts talking about the 85 graduates competition and all other competitions that may appear, a specialist one, generalist one. So I hope that can help you. What we do at Yepso, we're a training academy. We help people pass the EU competitions, but also to create a path within the EU institutions, to create a career path. We work from many places around the world. Here today will be with me today will be Ivan Carnota, who is the head of the careers department at Yepso. He's currently based in Brussels. In Brussels, usually we gather at the Merod Club, which is close to the Palais de Justice. In the city center, then most of the time I try to be at least at home in Coimbra, but we have colleagues working from Amsterdam, from many parts of Spain and Portugal mostly. So yeah, we are more than 10 people working right now at Yepso, and what we do usually are courses, and we try to give very good training to everyone. We work with several governments, and we also collaborate with prestigious institutions like the APA, the Agency of the European Union, and well, we do many other things. So I hope that in case you are interested, you can check our website. We also gather and share some information at our YouTube channel. So we will be publishing this very same video with the main ideas that we want to share with you today regarding the application form. Because at the end, this is why we're here today. We are here to cover the main fundamental tricks or ideas that we think that can be valuable for all of you who are willing to apply for the 85 Graduates competition. And before I give the floor to my colleague Ivan, who will be talking to you about the application form, I just want to do a brief recap of the main elements that has been addressed today by the Yepso. And one of the fundamental pieces of advice that I would like to share with you is the fact that the Yepso actually recommended to send the application form as soon as possible. Okay, it's quite important to do that, actually, because the very beginning of this competition has been a bit difficult. If you remember, during the first day of the competition, it was quite difficult to enter even the EPSO website. Possibly, we can have some technical issues with the EU login and the single candidate portal on the very last days. So our main advice is to upload your application form at least 1 week in advance. So probably I would say around the 2nd or 3rd of May, it would be good to send your application form and upload it. Something else that has been pointed out by the EPSO is the fact that they are going to publish a document around 500 to 600 pages for the EU knowledge test. So they will be publishing the documents that they have used to create the questions 2 months in advance of the exam. So keep tuned, because it is important to take that document once that it is published. Anyways, what EPSO said, it is that it is important to also be checking by now the fundamental sources of the 85 Graduates competition materials, which are published in the Publications Office of the European Union. Just let me come here and I will send it to you in a sec, because these materials, you have them here on the publications website. Like I said, here you have it. There are some fundamental documents regarding the state of the European Union, the Court of Justice, Schengen, a short guide to the European Union, the ABC of the EU law, documents about the European Monetary Union, even about new pioneers, 70 years of EU law, which is quite an extensive document. So what I would suggest to you all is to start studying these documents, because probably the document that the EPSO is going to publish is going to be somehow related to the information that has been already gathered in these publications. So that's the main advice that I can give you regarding the EU knowledge. Regarding the written test, they said that 2 weeks before the actual exam, they will publish the document, just as it happened in the previous competitions. For the other side, they said that the result list for this competition has not been agreed yet, but probably it will have a validity of 1.5 years. But in case that they still have people on that result list, probably they will be extending it for quite some time. And Koen Hendrik, who was one of the 2 officials, the EPSO, talking at this conference, he said that they could be even extended for many, many years, and he actually pointed out to even 10 years. Regarding testing dates, which has been one of the key questions that I have received these days in my LinkedIn and in my email. This is one question that is like the hot question, let's say. They don't know yet when will the exams take place. They are waiting actually for the end of the deadline of the application form. So after the 10th of March, after seeing how many people they have synced for this 85 Graduates competition, they will take their decision. They could have 20, 30, 40, or even more thousand people in this competition. This is what they said. And what they have also said is that probably instead of what has happened until now, the exams will not take place on the very same day. So probably they will allow windows of opportunities, windows of days, probably 2-3 weeks in which the different candidates will be taking the exams. So the model, it will be somehow similar to the model that we had before 2020, when the exams were, for example, for the 85 graduates competition, it was quite normal to have like 3 weeks, for example, of testing. The candidates had to be assigned to very specific days, and they have to attend the center and do the exams on that days and those dates. And also something else that they have said is that probably, they don't know yet, but probably the candidates will not have to do the exam on a single day. So it is a probability that the exam could be done on different dates. So, for example, this could be, this actually happened in a translation competition that we had, if I'm not mistaken, last year, to have the reasoning test and then to have other exercises in a different day. This is actually because keeping the server working, it is quite difficult. But this is not clear yet, okay? This is what they have said, so it's important to know that. What they have said and they have guaranteed is that the exams will not take place in March or even April. This is what they said. They have guaranteed that the exams will not take place on those dates. And they have also pointed out, and this is quite interesting, that the exams will not take place among the 15th of July and the 30th of August. So this is actually, if you have already attended the previous webinar that we did, I think it was, on the 5th of February, a couple of weeks ago, we said that my guess is that probably could be around June, July. But after these words from the Yepso, it is even open the opportunity to have the exams even in September. Okay, because if they said that from the 15th of July to the 30th of August will not take place the exam, well, it is indirectly opening the possibility of even taking it in September, which was also like not the main probability that we were guessing, but it was also a possibility. And what this is, I think these are the main ideas that I took from today's presentation. Something else, and this is the very last point, they said that they have not decided yet what they will do for the next 85 graduates competition. They have not decided if this competition will again take place every year like it happened until now, but probably they are thinking more about having this competition about every 2 years or even 3 years in case that they would decide that. But that is not a decision that they have taken yet. They are waiting first to deal with this challenging competition to later on decide when the next competition will take place. But this is also quite interesting to know that they are thinking about 2 or even 3 years. In addition, it is interesting to say that talking about a validity of the reserve list of 1.5 years probably is also pointing out that we will not have a competition in 2027, but probably we could have a competition around 2028 again. So this is a guess again, but this is the information that EPSO just shared with us in this open webinar a few minutes ago. Okay, being said, this, I think we're all on the same page now. Maybe I can introduce you to my colleague, Ivan Carnota. Ivan, I think that you're over here.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Okay, so here we have today Ivan, my colleague, who is based in Brussels. He's today talking to you from Brussels. He is the head of the careers department at Yepso. He has been already reviewed. I don't know, Ivan, could you guess the number of application forms that you have already reviewed? for this competition, just for this competition, okay? Because I know that it will be impossible to get
Maybe
everything.
72, I think, in this moment.
72 already.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have very defined number so far, and probably you will be proofreading. I don't know, maybe above 150, more or less.
More or less, yeah.
Okay, okay. And I'm not going to ask you about the application forms that you have reviewed this year, because I know that that number could be multiplied by several times. But just to tell you that Ivan is coordinating Department of Careers at Yepso. So he is the one, along with other colleagues that are working with him, but he is the responsible for all of that. He has been working on this specific field for many years, 7 years till now. So he's quite familiar with the fundamental ideas that probably you need to consider for the 85 graduates competition application form. So probably, Ivan, I think it's better if you take the floor. I will be here with you, and I will be happy also to be solving any questions that may arise, because we will leave a couple of minutes at the end of the presentation, so that if you have some important questions, or the questions that you decide could be interesting, we will address them at that time. Okay?
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you so much, Carlos. And thank you so much, everyone. Can you hear me well? With no problem?
Yep.
I suppose yes? Yes. Okay. So I will share with you, 4 or 5 slides, okay, no more. My idea is, try to do that and understand, the title of the session of today, okay? So the point is how to structure a competitive application form. And that is one of the most important ideas about when you send the application form. Okay, so the first point is how, how to do that. The second, a structure, okay, and that is how to fill in a good way your application form, and competitive, okay? And that 3 items are really important for fill a really good application form, okay? So first idea, okay, the application form is not a CV, okay? It's not only CV. It's not a biography, or not only a biography, and it's not a list of achievements, okay? There are a combination of that 3 elements, but it's a strategic positioning of your profile, okay? You are not describing your past, you are aligning your profile with 3 validated functions of the generalist profile, okay? And with 1 or more EU policy areas. Okay, that idea is really important, because you need to understand the generalist profile is related with all EU policies, but that is false, okay? It's related with the policies are you interested in, okay? So you are not filling in a form, okay? You are building a structured argument, okay? So why? Because for EPSO, if you are a national of a member state, okay, and you must submit, remember, your ID card before 10th of March, okay, on the single candidate portal, and you have a university degree of at least 3 years, okay, you can upload this document, remember, as well, until 7th of October, sorry, and the degree must be valid before 30th of September, you will be able to apply. So there are no problems with EPSO for check that, okay? If you have a valid ID card or passport, okay, you are national of a member state, and you have a university degree of at least 3 years, you can apply and everything's okay, okay? So no worries with that. But the point here is adding more information, sorry, for recruitment services, okay? And being on the reserve list. So we are working on our application form more for recruitment services than for EPSO, okay? Although EPSO, obviously, requirements must be included without fail, okay? But our glasses is with that 2 elements, Okay, so the first point is understanding the platform. Okay, and today I'm not talking about the login. Okay, I know there are a lot of problems with that element, but the idea is understand the single candidate portal. Okay, it's the next step after EU login. Okay, and there are two distinct logics. Okay, the first one is my CV. It's a descriptive section. Okay, education, professional experience, objective information, and the other is the application. Okay, and in the application is the strategic section. Is the moment for talking about motivation, alignment, positioning. Okay, and this is where you build coherence. Okay, many candidates make a fundamental mistake. Okay, in my point of view, they try to compensate for a weak MyCV structure with a strong motivation section. Okay, but that not works in that way. Okay, everything must be aligned. We need a vertical or horizontal coherence if you want. Okay, our advice is follow the next schedule. Okay, the education, go to the experience, to the motivation, to the functions, and to the policy area. So that the steps need to be connected. Okay, if one element is disconnected, the application weakens. You need to structure the section of my CV and the section of my application related one to the other. Okay, so taking that into account, there are three areas, okay, are important for build a good application. Taking into account the professional profile of generalist, taking into account the difference for policy areas and for institutional and agencies, and the functional keywords. Okay. Talking about well, the core functions. Okay, the core functions is related to the typical that is in the Annex 2 of the competition. Okay, and is, I don't know if you see well. Okay, is policy development and formulation. The second is policy implementation and operational delivery. And the third is resource management. Okay, so at the end, what is a generalist profile? Okay, a generalist does not mean general. Okay, the competition is called generalist because the functions are horizontal. Okay, or well, when we talk about that functions, we talk about horizontal functions. Okay, but they are never applied in a vacuum. Okay, you always apply them to a specific policy area. Okay, that's it. That is our best advice. Not apply like European Union, like that means nothing. Okay, you need to apply for certain policy area. Maybe it's taxation, maybe it's environment, maybe it's external relations. Okay, and you can select 2, 3, 4. Okay, as you matter, but it's important not talking about the European Union like that means everything. Okay, but that is the most general mistake. Okay, the policy development support, the operational implementation, the resource management are really important. Okay, but, and that is important to underline as well, you do not need prior experience in all of them. Okay, why? Because it's an AD5. Okay, it's a graduate program. You don't need professional experience related to that. Okay, you are not expected to cover all three of them. Maybe you are more interested in policy development and knowing policy implementation or resource management or opposite of that. Okay, but it's important work in a really good way with that elements. Okay, you must demonstrate transferability and motivation matter as much as experience. Okay, so the competition validates your capacity to perform these functions, not your past jobs, professional experience, or education and training. Okay, The idea is the capacity to perform these functions, sorry. And your application forms need to talking about that, okay? About your knowledge, your abilities, your attitude, but it's not only your previous professional experience, okay? So the idea when we talk about that is try not confusing, okay, the competition with employment. Okay, an EPSO competition validates competence and functions and creates a reserve list. Okay, so does not recruit for any specific job. But in this moment, we talk that is important for contract with the recruitment services after. So you need to think which policy areas you wish to apply as functions, which functions you can excel in or bring a strong added value, okay, to based on your background, and which aspects you are most motivated to contribute, okay? And with that ideas, the post you may be recruited for could be policy officer, project manager, political advisor, financial officer, and so on, okay? But you are not writing for a specific unit or DG until you are in the result list, okay? So you're positioning yourselves within a function and policy logic. That is the two ideas we need to take it into account for applying to that, okay? Talking about policy areas against institutions and agencies, okay? That is one of the most common mistakes, okay? If you mention a specific DG or a specific unit, okay, it's a risk, okay? Because it's possible in that unit or in that area, you don't have employment because there are no contracts, okay? So it's more strategic, structure your motivation, not talking about the European External Action Service or DGRTD or DG IMPA, talking about innovation policy, talking about external action policy, or talking about cooperation policy, okay? As you prefer, environment, migration, economy. I'm talking about the political guidelines priorities or the European Commission work program, okay? But not about the specific entities, okay? Because that is a really important risk, okay? You need to frame your application around policy areas, okay? Climate, digital, okay? As you prefer. But that is really important. And my last advice, okay, is talking about functional keywords, okay? What that means, okay? Well, the functional keywords depends in which section you want to develop, okay, your experience, okay? But imagine in work experience, okay? Well, it's important use verbs align with the functions. For example, for policy development, analyze, draft, contribute, monitor it, interpret it, advise it, coordinate it, okay? When you express, okay, your description. When you talk about the operational implementation, implement it, manage it, ensure follow-up, monitor its progress, coordinate the stakeholders, and so on. And when you talk about resource management, so you need to talk about supervise, allocated, prepare forecast, oversaw reporting, mitigate risks, that kind of things. So translate your experience at the end into functional language, okay? The functional language of 85. Okay? And that works when you are in the recipe list at the end, okay? If we jump to the work experience, to the education, it's more or less the same, okay? It's translate your education or your education and experience in competence, okay? Legal drafting, policy analyze, budgetary management, project management, institutional relations, risk assessment, okay? So it's really important to take that into account, okay? And the most important one is when we talk about the motivation section. if you know, in the motivation section, sorry, there are 4 questions and are different questions, okay? First one is experience and background, how your experience and background is relevant to this particular profile. Remember, to this particular profile. So the tasks of a generalist, no EU or other kind of thing, okay? Second question, interest to apply to this career opportunity. So again, the generalist profile, okay, is not EU, like that means everything, okay? It's what is the meaning of generalist profile, and the meaning is the tasks, okay? And the tasks is policy development, policy implementation, and resource management. So your best friend in that case is the Annex 2, okay, with the typical lattice. So it's how your background prepared you, why you want to apply to these functions, what you contribute, the third question, okay, the contribution to you, what's your contribution to you, and what your strengths are. But remember, okay, the question 4 is tricky. It's tricky one. They don't need you to talk strengths. They need to talk about achievements. Okay, 2 of your main achievements. Describe them, how is relevant for others, and how is relevant for you. But it's not talking about, I don't know, imagine entrepreneurship, and you describe what is the reason for you have an entrepreneurship. That is not they asking in the box 4, okay, in the chapter of strengths motivation. They need to ask you for achievement, okay? They needed an achievement. So avoid simply describing your CV again, okay? It's important what skills you developed, how they are transferable, and how they apply to EU policymaking. So at the end, that is the elements they needed to know, okay, about you. So I think it's important have certain space, okay, for you can ask your Q&A. So I try to do my best for in 20 minutes doing that ideas, okay, for create a competitive application form. Well, I hope that it's helpful for you. Only 4 ideas, okay, for doing a recap, and we can respond to your questions. First, understand the technical logic of the portal is really important, okay, because in my CV, it's a list of facts, okay, and in the motivation, we can create other kind of narrative, okay, of our profile. Second, define your policy area. That is really important, okay, because the language is blend, okay? So you can talk about everything and create different concepts when we talk about policy areas, but take care about what is the most important policy areas now for the European Union, okay? Critical raw materials, clean industrial deal, okay? Thinking about the priorities and read the European Commission work program, okay? And try to think, okay, in which part I can add value, okay? Because maybe you are thinking, okay, I'm studying international relations, for example. So my objective is DGIMPA and European External Action Service. Well, or no, because your added value is in there, or you can add more value in other place or in other areas, or you are interested in other kind of areas. Okay, so you need to doing the effort to think about that. Okay, what is your policy area? Are you interested in? Okay, and put your motivation in that with that kind of glasses. Okay, or optic. Third, identify which functions you can contribute to, because maybe you don't need to talk about the 3 of them: the policy development, the policy implementation, and resource management. Maybe it's better talking about one, the others, okay, underline certain things, but not full application or full motivation is related to that. Okay, it's better, I think, underline the criteria are important, okay, for certain tasks, and develop after that. Okay, use functional keywords strategically. Okay, that works in is different in work experience, in education, and in motivation part. Okay, and at the end, ensure full coherence across all sections. Okay, because that vertical or horizontal connection, uh, it's important not only talking about operational delivery, imagine in our master degree and not in our motivation. No, we need to talking about a little bit of everything in different parts, okay? But the coherence is important in that case. And okay, final point, and we can jump to the questions, okay? For me, okay, a strong application is not the one that says the most, okay, like by wave, okay? No, it's one that is perfectly aligned with you want, okay? So the first step is think about what do you want about generalist profile. You don't know the contracts, okay? You don't know what happened in the recruitment services at the end, but you need to know what is your position for generalist profile for after that doing the jump to the reserve list. Okay. So is that I don't know if that it's helpful. Yeah, maybe no. But yeah, okay. So I think we can start, if you want, Carlos, the Q&A. Well, I see there are a lot of questions in the chat. I don't know, maybe.
Yes, maybe Ivan, what we can do before we jump to the questions, which I
Yeah.
think that it is quite relevant, is just to do a quick tour around the single candidate portal. So if you don't mind, I just will need to take 2 minutes of your time, maybe,
Okay.
just to address some key issues that, from my perspective, are also relevant to share with the audience. I'm pretty sure that all of you are familiar with the single candidate portal, which is this one that you have it over here. If you come, well, if you want to apply for the competition, in case that you haven't done it, you come here to apply for a competition, press on apply, and here it will appear the 85 graduates competition. What happened? And if you already created your application form, if you press here, what is going to happen is that this message from Digit Service is going to appear, and they are not going to let you continue with your application form. I know that this may seem a bit simple, but I have received, I don't know how many messages asking about this situation, because people were a bit stressed because they didn't know what to do because they couldn't work with the application form. But if you come here to My Applications and you come to here, you will see my draft applications. These are the applications that has been already created, but not submitted yet. And if you come here, you will see that, first of all, you have the eligibility, which is only filling in all this information here. You need to give full acknowledgement of the eligibility requirements of this competition. Then we have the registration data with all the information about relevant information about yourself. Then here we have my CV. And here's something important. It is that if you send your application by a specific date, which will be, of course, before the 10th of March, the information that you will send, it will be the one that will be available after that on the reserve list. But you will have the opportunity to update your CV so that after the reserve list, it will be taken into account by the human resources units in order to pass the result list. Okay, so even though you have to send this information by the 10th of March, and you will not be able to modify your application form, here in the candidate portal, you will be able to upload your CV. And here the key section of the application form are these 4 questions that Ivan already addressed. And I just wanted to give you a couple of advices that I think, from my perspective, are quite important. You have 2,000 characters. I would tell you that it is important, obviously, by including your ideas in these boxes, you are telling a bit of yourself. Okay, so I will take the most out of these 2,000 characters. What I would do, and this is my piece of advice, is to start writing version number 1, for example, today or tomorrow. Probably I would say that it is even better if you do it in the morning when you are full of energy and coffee, hopefully good coffee. And then after you create your version number 1, you come back 1 day later and you try to redefine what you have just written and keep working on several versions until you get what the version that you think that actually represents you the best. Here, by pressing on these question marks, you have actually the questions that you need to answer, like how is your education experience relevant to this particular profile? And you actually, what you have to do is focusing on this. What I would not do is including the same information that you have already included for the CV section, because you are not adding value. You need to add something else. You need to put into practice whatever defines you from an academic and also a professional perspective. Okay, so 2,000 characters, try to not write the same thing that other candidates write. And this is something that as we check many application forms, we see that many people get to write more or less the same. Try to search for those details that make you different. Okay, so here, focus on education and experience for being an 85 graduate competition. For the other side, regarding your interest to apply, here, what you need to do is give some reasons of why you are applying for this career opportunity. But my main advice, it will be not only to focus on what this opportunity is going to give you, because from the perspective of the EU institutions, for me at least, if I'm hiring someone from my unit, it is not that important as getting to know what are your interests in delivering and in let's say, bringing some value to the European Union. And this is why it is important to try to merge from one side your motivation, for other side, the 8 competencies that the EPSO included in the EPSO framework. For that. Also, something quite important, it is to check this with the function 2, the function that are included in Annex number 2. Okay, so here, this interest apply, you should focus it like that on what you can bring to the EU institutions, not about what you should be taking from the institutions. For the other side, you have the contribution to EU, and here, yes, you have to point even more about what specifically you can do for the EU institutions, in what role you can contribute, and the particular strengths. But this is quite different to the other section, strengths, which is here. It is about outlining 2 main achievements. So try to define quite well what they are asking you in every section, so that you are actually meeting the expectations of the EPSO and the recruitment services. This is not to tell how in love you are about the European Union, because I know that all of you are full of love for the institutions and you actually want to work there for sure. But trying to be strategic, try to put yourself in the shoes of the recruiter, trying to find a balance. This is a question that I was answering on the chat. obviously you need to have into account that for one side you have what the 85 graduates is about, what they are asking about the functions in the annex number 2, and also for the other side, you need to consider also those that motivation that you have in certain policy areas. Obviously, you should not craft your application form thinking only about the policy areas that you love. It should be a mix of both elements, a mix of competencies, like I said, and for the other side, interest that you have, but considering to which profile you are thinking about. This is actually because in the database that are usually used in the EU competitions and also for the cast, sometimes people who are looking for candidates, they are searching for some specific keywords. So if you define a wide, quite a broad profile for you, it is going to be more difficult that later on they could find you. And let's imagine, for example, that you're applying for the 85 graduates competition, but maybe you are interested on a very specific topic, let's say something like, for example, public procurement, that I know that probably will not be like this sexiest topic here to work for the EU, but I think that it is the first one that appear. And maybe you're crazy about green public procurement, for example. So even though you need to have a wide perspective about the annex number 2 and the functions that you will be delivering as an 85 official, it is also, I mean, it is not something but to include something about a thesis, for example, that you have written about green public procurement, or your interest about, for example, because you have, for example, completed, let's say, we could say European Solidarity Corps, for example, about a specific topic. So you can bring that here, because those keywords that are essential to be later on chosen from the result list, they are going to make the difference. Okay, so think about these four questions with some detail. Try to devote some time to it, and the same thing applies for the My CV. Okay, if you're talking about professional experience, try to give as many details as possible, because again, that is something that could help you get through the result list. And this is what I wanted to say. I said that I would do it, I would talk about it in 2 minutes, and I think that I needed almost 10, but I hope that these pieces of advice are interesting for you. Okay, so maybe now what we can do is we can open the Q&A. Just to tell you that, yes, we are recording this session, but in case that you are raising some questions, you will be deleted from the recording. So you can feel free to open the mic if you want to, and open your camera. That will be deleted from the recording. But in case you feel even more comfortable, you can write your questions on the chat, and we will be happy to be answering them. If you want to raise your question, please raise your hand. You have here this function, and by this we can get the priority. In case that you have any question, yes. Okay, Van, I saw that you were answering some questions on the chat. I don't know if you want to address them here. I don't know if you have already answered to Laura about the 85 specific functions. Those are on the annex number 2 of the notice of competition.
Yeah, exactly, in the annex number 2.
Okay.
Obviously, the positions could apply, we don't know, but it's related to that kind of elements like policy officer, project manager, that kind of things. But we know by the tasks, okay? It's horizontal profile. It's financial officer, press officer, translator, is whatever. So the point is try to arrive to your experience and to your education and different areas to your profile, okay, for take advantage of that. But there are a lot of kind of contracts you can apply when you are in the reserve list. Okay, there are a lot of offers. So the point is not thinking in the contract; it's thinking in the tasks in the Annex 2 of the competition. Okay.
Yep. Here we have another question from Sabrina. She's asking, where do we need to upload the ID? In which section of the application, Ivan?
In which section? It's in the section of my CV. In the last one, maybe we can share. You are in the single candidate portal, Carlos. Maybe it's in.
Yes.
If no, I open the website. But if you
yeah,
enter,
I think it would be better because I think I closed it.
Okay. If you enter Sabrina in your single candidate portal in the section My CV, in the bottom of the page appears ID document. So you need to upload the document exactly.
Yeah, it's over here. In the bottom, there is then add ID document, and here you can upload it. Okay.
Evgenia says, if professional experience before graduation was not remunerated, can we still declare it? Yes. Okay. Well, what's happened? The general rules of the EPSO says no. Okay. If you have experience previous the validation of the title you needed to enter of the competition, you can put in the application form, but you can add it for include the keywords. Okay. But you need to declare clearly it's not remunerated and the date is before the title. For EPSO, doesn't matter, okay? Because they only see if you are graduated and you are national of the European member state and go ahead, okay? But that keywords are important for the recruitment services, okay? So my advice is include it, okay? But underline clearly was not remunerated and it's a professional experience before, okay, the title. Well, the dates is clearly for know that, okay?
Yeah, we have some questions here. Some people raised their hand. Here we have Beatrice. Hi, ciao, Beatrice. How are you?
Okay.
You can declare, but EPSO doesn't take into account that experience, but doesn't matter. Why? Because EPSO only see you have a bachelor degree or a university title of 3 years, and you are national of a member state. And for the recruitment services are interesting to see that. They can take into account that experience for your salary basis, but taking into account for select you. So are important to include that. Okay. Really interesting questions. Okay, Magdalena, for the first one, okay. In the specialist competition, and that it's important underline for everyone, okay. It's really important for EPSO, okay, that elements of the general rules of the competition, okay. If you have, for example, a unpaid traineeship before your education, that doesn't account for professional experience, okay? But for generalist competition, doesn't apply, okay? So doesn't matter what's happening in the specific competition. If you want to apply for a generalist competition and you have a previous section in my CV covered that and say underpaid, doesn't matter, okay? It's important, I repeat that, for the recruitment services. For specific competitions are really extremist with that, and you need to take care with that. So avant la lettre, okay? You need to be extremely clear with contract, pay slips, and reference levels and that kind of things. If it's no, the selection board say no. But in specific competitions, in generalist competition, the EPSO only see if you have a bachelor degree and if you are national of a member state. And after that, jump to the next. And the problem is with the recruitment services. And the HR in the institutions are more flexible with that, okay? So it's better put, and if you have problems after that with the HR, with the, I don't know, the documentation for arrive to that, it's question for talking with the HRs. But it's better, Magdalena, in my opinion, put the experience. And if you don't have any document for add to that, doesn't matter, okay? The important is the keyword. And your second question, okay? It's tricky, okay? But the section of interest to apply and the contribution to you, well, that is my point of view, okay? But in the interest to apply, I think it's better you try to express in a certain way your real motivation for the certain policies of the European Union, okay? And in the contribution to you, talking more about abilities and about attitude, okay? But with the imagine, okay, or with the picture, sorry, in your mind about the typical datis, okay, of the Annex 2 of the competition. I know it's tricky, okay? You need to, like Carlos said, you need to doing a version 1, version 2, version 3, okay? You need to struggle, okay, with that. But it's important to do in that way.
Sorry, if I may, Ivan. I will be starting my classes for the University of Lisbon in 10 minutes. So that's why I will not be able to be joining you for the rest of this webinar. Maybe, Ivan, you can be here for the rest of the session and just close
Okay.
the webinar, okay? So I just wanted to tell you all that thank you for being here, again, for your interest. I hope that this small contribution that we are trying to make today, again, completely for free, just to help you as much as possible, is helpful for you and that you find it interesting. I'm sorry that I'm not more active in LinkedIn right now, but I have no hours. I've been working all weekend and every day, so it's been quite tough. But in any case, I wish you all the best. If we can help you at any point, just feel free to reach us. Best of luck to everyone, and thank you, Ivan, for being here. Okay, bye
Thank
bye.
you so much. Okay, so maybe we can doing a couple of questions more, and we can close. Okay, so Anna. Okay, totally understand. Okay, thank you for your question, Anna. One profile, two profiles, three profiles. Okay. This competition, okay, ask for or try to search a professionals related to that kind of three elements, okay? Resource management, policy implementation, policy development. At the end, that is two things, okay? Policy officer, that is the name, okay, usually are project manager, okay? Or there are a flexible, okay, topics talking for that kind of concept, okay? But it's a plural phenomenon, okay? So at the end, it's you need to added value for everything, okay? Because in institution, you do have everything. So the point here is you can underline different things about your titulation, okay, your bachelor degree, your experience in any area related to that three areas, okay? Because when we talk about ensuring inter-service and interinstitutional coordination, that you only can do in institutions, okay? So the point is not try to think, okay, in what or in which of my previous experience or education or training I did that. No, the point is no. The point is, in which of my previous experience, like education experience, work experience, or vital experience, okay, in which of them I have or I acquire the knowledge, the attitude, and the ability or skills for do that, okay? So in my point, okay, or my point of view is it's better talking about the three profiles, okay? But if you only talking about one, because, okay, only want to talking about policy development and formulation, and the policy implementation doesn't matter, and the resource management doesn't matter. In my opinion, does not work. Okay, it's important talking, but in different areas about the three elements. Okay, but you need to divide it in professional experience, in education and training, in my CV section, and in the section of motivation. No, and that is related, Anna, with the second questions. Okay, you want to apply for, or your policy area are interested in is environment. Okay, but you have experience in, I think, audiovisual, you say?
Yes.
Okay. So in which section you need to underline that? Obviously, in education and training, or sorry, in education and training. In education and training, or in background and experience? No. Okay. But in interest to apply and in contribution to you can underline that. Okay. And you say, okay, my interest and my abilities and my knowledge is that, but I can apply that, or I want to apply that for the environmental policies to the European Union, for the reason 1, the reason 2, and the reason 3. Okay, but that is significantly important. Okay, because you want to jump to the other area. You have maybe no more experience in that, but it's important, the attitude or the perspective to do that jump. So it's possible to do that, but you need to build a narrative in the interest to apply and in the contribution to you, or maybe in the strengths for create that jump. I don't know if that have sense for you. Thank you to you. You are welcome. Enrique, okay. First point, okay. 3 policies, okay. What is the point with that? Well, when we talk about policy areas, you can create the policy area. Okay, imagine you need to blend taxation with environment. Okay, because you can write that. You can. I'm interested in environmental and taxation areas, and it's okay. No worries. The problem you think maybe is, okay, imagine in a situation I'm in the reserve list, and the policy areas I'm interested in doesn't appear in the reserve list, or maybe I'm closing doors for certain areas. Does not happen, okay, in the reserve list, because the question in the interview, in the future interview, is, okay, Enrique, you are interested in environmental area, and that is DigiDefis, okay, defense and digital. What do you present your application for that position? And you, if they call you for that interview, you can prepare your answer, okay? And always, 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 it's possible prepare an answer for put front to that, okay? So you can relate it, any policy of the European Union with the EU values, or with the political guidelines, or with the strategic agenda, or with the 10 issues to watch of the European Parliament, okay? Because everything is related, okay? Everything is connected with the different policies of the European Union. So interest to apply is your interest for doing certain tasks related to the Annex 2, but with certain policy areas. If you talk about European External Action Service, or DG IMPA, or I don't know, DG MENA, in this situation, you close doors because you are underlying certain area. But if in our horizontal way, you're talking about policy area, there are no problem with that. Okay. So build that element, that area, and create your space. Okay. And think for that about your background, okay, about your experience in education and your experience in professional way. Okay. The second question, I think, is for, yes, for the documents, I think, no, Enrique?
The job duties. Yeah.
Exactly, that is no. That is problematic for specific competitions, okay, but not for generalist competition. But if you want to underline certain elements of your professional elements, obviously, of your professional experience, the best way for do that is a reference letter. Okay, it's a reference letter of your boss or over time that with a list of the tasks you developed in that experience. Okay, is the best way for do that, because in the well, maybe here there are a lot of countries, but in Spain, in Portugal, it's not really common a list of our tasks. Okay, in a job, it's most like okay, in the convenio colectivo or in the legal framework, you can search your functions. Okay, so that is weird, but in that position, it's better ask to your boss or to your previous boss for that reference letter. That helps. Okay, but I repeat. Okay, it's not mandatory for generalist competition, but it's really important for specialist competitions. Okay. And a few words for help. The motivation section. Well, it's complicated. Doing a summary about that, but in my opinion, first, okay, try to read carefully the question, okay, because the ideas is there, okay. How your education and experience, underline experience, okay, no professional experience. So it's vital experience, it's traineeships, it's working in NGOs, it's social and hobbies, activities, okay? Experience is relevant to this particular profile, okay? If you, obviously, if you have 30 years of professional experience, obviously you need to talk about that, okay? But if you have, I don't know, 22 years old, okay, and you are outside of the university or you are in the university and you don't have professional experience, don't worry, okay? You can talk about vital experience. You can talk about courses of language. You can talk about NGOs. You can talk about, okay? But think always in terms of Annex 2, okay? Policy development, policy implementation, resource management, okay? That is our classes, okay? And I think that is my best advice, okay? Obviously, in the institutions, they use detectors of AI, okay? So, in my opinion, it's not a problematic point, okay? But obviously, if you point the Annex 2 in ChatGPT or in Gemini and ask for, okay, this is my CV, this is the functions, create something, that not works, okay? One, because that is detected for the institutions and well, doesn't matter, okay? But it's not invalidated, okay? But it's not polite, okay? And it's really, really, really no added value, okay? So if you select certain things for, and you filtering, and you use the AI tools for create value or analyze or research, it's okay. But after writing, okay, writing by yourself and doing certain ideas and underline or added value to your profile with your hands, okay? Because the AI, I think, is useful for not lose certain information or for search certain things, but you need filter for, okay, criteria at the end, no? For say, okay, that is my idea, 1, 2, and 3. And you need writing at the end, the different points of the competition. Okay, so you can use, okay, at the end, but it's important rewriting after that. Okay. Okay, last two questions, okay, Paula? Well, it's important to be clear in the name, no? You can put ID card, and it's okay, and you can upload and in PDF format. I think the single candidate portal admit PDF format and GPG. So doesn't matter, both of them. Okay. Deadline for get a job. Okay. Carlos said at the start of the session. Okay. In the session of today of the EPSO, the official session, they said the idea of the deadline of that result list is 1 year and a half. Okay. But they say something is interesting, is the idea of EPSO is prorogate the list indefinitely. Okay, so if you pass and you are in the reserve list, it's go ahead years ago. Okay, so in the previous sessions is a deadline. Okay, maybe it's 2 years, maybe it's 3 years. It's true the policy of the common of structure of the directors of EPSO is prorogate the list if there are people. So in this case, it's only okay. The idea is 1.5 years, but after that, if there are people into, they can prorogate. Okay, so there are no worry about caducity date. Okay, because you are into. But there are one thing it's important to take into account. Okay, the first 5 months when the result list is published are the most important ones. Okay, because it's when the applications, well, the applications, no, the vacancies appears. Okay, or most appears. Okay, and tips for create the section of my CV. Well, maybe 3 ideas. Okay, first one, the level of EQF. Okay, in the educational section is important. Okay, remember, bachelor degree it's EQF 6, master degree is EQF 7, PhD is EQF 8. Okay, remember it's not mandatory. Okay, but it's important doing that. In the description, okay, against that happening in the motivation section, okay, in the description of professional experience and education, you can use bullet points, bold, italics, okay, so you can work better with the format of the text. So take advantage of that, okay? You can use that elements. But remember, in the motivation section, it's plain text, okay? Plain text. So we can't use configurations like bullet points or bold letters or other kind of things because that's not work, okay? The title, okay, the headings of your documentation. If you fill the application form or the My CV section in English, for example, and your title is in Spanish, the criteria is the title of the documentation is the same like in your supporting document. So in your supporting document appears grado en Derecho, you need to put grado en Derecho, but in brackets, translate it to English, okay? Bachelor degree in law, because you fill your application in English, okay? If you fill in English, okay? That is not mandatory, but the point is that not usually, okay? You need to talk about the HR services of that department, okay? And they ask to you, but usually they publish the vacancy because they needed the position, okay? So the most common scenario is I need you are working as soon as possible. About the CV, Magdalena, you can upload in your last professional experience the CV Europass. I recommend do that because you can order in a better way your professional experience and other kind of elements, NGO activities, political activities, well, other kind of things. You can configure it better that elements if you add like supporting document in your last experience, for example. my opinion is use Europass always, but in certain units, okay, in certain units, they prefer one-page CV. The point is Europass always works, but in certain units, they prefer the one-page. Okay, Martina, we close with you. If I understand correctly, the point is how to add the 8 competencies of EPSO framework, I suppose.
Yes.
In your professional experience or in your education and training and motivation. If you go to because maybe some of you don't know that, okay, if you go to the EPSO website, okay, and go to that about the selection process, and here, EPSO competency framework, you can find the anchors, exactly, the 8 competencies of EPSO competency framework. For build and achievement, like Martina says, it's really important build taking into account the 8 competencies of EPSO. One example, for example, critical thinking, analyzing and creative problem solving. Okay, identifies possible ways forward taking a range of points or view and positions into consideration. Okay, so when you're talking about the strengths in motivation, for example, or when you express a skill in certain professional experience do you have, it's important think in that elements, okay, and say, using the method STAR, situation, task, action, result, okay? If you use that for talking about examples, I recommend use that technique and express really well your skills and motivation in the description of professional experience and in the motivation section in strengths and contribution to you. Because in that 2 sections is most probably they see strengths like EPSO competency framework. Okay, Martina. So my advice is try to, and for interviews is the same, is try to think in 2 experiences of your life by each competency. So 8 competencies, so 16, okay? So if you have 16 examples and you need to select 2 or 3 for writing in your motivation, it's perfect, okay? Taking into account, okay, the competency framework of EPSO, obviously, but as well of the generalist competition, okay? The 3 ideas, okay, policy implementation, policy development, and resource management, okay? But with that ideas in your mind and with that anchors of each competency, I think there are a lot of elements for create a strong application, okay? But you need to put yourself in front of a Word page and write different versions of that. But the result, I think, is really good. Yeah, 3 competencies as well is a good number. Yeah. In strengths and in contribution to you. That is my advice. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope that advice or that piece of advice is helpful for you. Yes? Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. And have a nice evening, okay? Good luck with your applications, okay? Thank you so much.
Thank you.